Hello! Today we are talking about unusual ways to stockpile, or ways that you can find exceptional deals for stockpiling. What people don't know is that I don't just go to the grocery store to pot stockpile or Walmart to stockpile. I actually stockpile from many different ways. All right, number one is garage sales. Are you shocked?
For food?
Yes.
I am shocked.
So I have bought food, kitchen supplies, all kinds of things at garage sales. And usually what I find is someone who's a couponer, and then they have this huge stash, and then they put it all out for a garage sale. One time I had a huge stash, and when we were moving, I had a garage sale and sold my stash. I had found some cake mixes for, I can't remember if they were 5 or 10 cents each. And we were getting ready to move from Colorado to Kansas, and they were Halloween cake mixes. So they were purple and black and green, and it was the funniest thing. I listed them, I can't remember if it was 50 cents or $1, but I put them in the garage sale, and guess who bought them more than anybody else? I had like 30 of them.
Who?
Kids.
What?
The kids loved the green and the purple and the black cake. They thought that was the funniest thing. So the kids would come to the garage sale with their parents or grandparents, and they would beg them to buy it. And so they always did. And so I sold out of all 30 of them, and I made a huge profit on them. It was pretty good. So I was rather impressed with myself. So what are things that I
You could sell ice to Eskimo, is that what they say?
Yes. I could probably sell ice to Eskimo. So what are some things that I bought at garage sales? Toothpaste, dishwasher soap, dish liquid, toothbrushes. I have bought canned goods like peaches and green beans. I have bought, man, I can't think of everything that I've decorating bags, shortening, spray pan. What else? I didn't make a list of everything, but those are some of the things that I have bought. And I just finished up. We bought shortening and spray pan from a restaurant that was going out of business, having a garage sale. The year we moved here, which was 4 years ago, can you believe that?
Yeah.
And
never looked back, have we?
Nope. And I am just now finished using it up. So those are a few things that I have bought at garage sales. Next thing is, oops, I just opened the wrong thing. Hold on. The next thing is, there we go.
I'm in suspense with you.
Estate sales. So similar thing. Grandma's gone into the nursing home and they sell everything. They literally sell everything in the kitchen cabinets. So I have gone in and bought corn bread mixes, cleaning supplies out the wazoo. Mom and I have enough cleaning supplies to keep us until the day we die. And so estate sales are huge for finding these kinds of products. Trash bags, borax, bug killers. Well, you can get bug cleaners too, I guess. Bug killers, foil, saran wrap, bread bags. One lady must have baked bread or something because she had all these bread bags. So I just use those as regular baggies. Wax paper, parchment paper. All of those I have got at at estate sales for 50 cents, 25 cents is what I usually pay for these things. Next one is a surprise until I tell you. It is our Mother's Day sale.
What? Oh, our Mother's Day sale. Oh, okay.
I forgot. I got to announce that. Mother's Day sale is happening right now. livingonadime.com. 50% off if you buy the sets, the 2-book set or the 3-book set. And this one is our gluten-free, dairy-free edition. If you only want to start one place, start with our volume 1 Volume 2 is totally different recipes, but they go together, but you don't have to use them together. Easy recipes get you in and out of the kitchen quick. Your family will love. Our Mother's Day sale is going on right now, so go grab them. And thank you everyone who has ordered so far. The next thing is thrift stores. Yes, I have bought cake mixes and peaches and pears and soup. What else? I can't remember. All my kitchen stuff, cups, reusable cups for all of our parties that we have, paper plates, foil, wax paper, all of those kitchen supplies like that, I have got at thrift stores and usually pay 25 cents to $1 for them. So I save a ton of money even buying these things at thrift stores. You would think that's crazy, and it is.
I was surprised that you could buy some of that stuff at thrift stores.
Yeah.
Especially the food items. I didn't know they would sell. Well, that's at garage sales mostly, or is that also at thrift stores?
Well, at our thrift stores here, they've put them on the shelf, and I got a whole bunch of peaches like 2 years ago for $0.25.
And it's funny because they're not expired.
Mm-mm.
That's the thing that's.
But even if they are expired,
it's not that serious.
How expired are they? If they're 10 years expired, I wouldn't get them. But if they're like 3-6 months, even a year for the canned goods, I would buy them. I mean,
as long as they're not like
dented,
bulging or dented or something.
Don't look for the dent. Look for things that aren't dented, aren't bulged. There's no, seal breaks or anything like that, and it should be perfectly fine. Now, this one nobody talks about. Stockpiling. Thank you. Laura says the books are so worth it. Just had the ranch dressing with my lunch. I never buy ranch anymore. Volume 1, yes, our ranch dressing. Everybody loves our ranch dressing. If you make our ranch dressing, I have never had anyone go and buy ranch dressing again. So
when you buy it in the store these days, it's really expensive.
Yeah.
And it's a lot cheaper, right?
Yep,
to make
it is, especially for the dips. All right, the next one is nobody ever talks about this one. Nobody talks about this one. Helping someone move.
Oh, yeah. Well, it wasn't groceries, but I think about.
When we left Colorado, my neighbors got a haul because we just couldn't move our entire stockpile. And so several of our neighbors had helped us a lot over the years. And, we really couldn't repay them for some of the things that they had done. And we're moving. I'm like, would you like this? Oh, yeah, sure. Would you like this? Yeah. I gave them dish soap. I gave them canned tuna, canned chicken. I gave them all kinds of stuff. And it was just a fraction of the amount of things that they had given us over the years. But I was more than happy to give it to them as a thank you for helping us out all that time. Now, on the other end, I helped another one of those neighbors move. And she's like, oh man, I just don't want this stuff. I'm like, well, I'll take it. Cleaned out her freezer. I got everything in her freezer. Cleaned out her refrigerator. Now, there was some stuff that was used that I didn't go ahead and use, although they were perfectly clean people and I would have no problem using them, honestly. But I ran out of space. So I just went ahead and threw away the used stuff and kept the brand new stuff, which was probably dumb. I should have done it the other way around. Now that I think about it, that wasn't a very smart move on my part. But anyway, see guys, I mess up too. But she gave me all of her cleaning supplies, all of basically her entire kitchen. And I mean, we didn't have to buy groceries for a few months because she just had so much, and it was fun because it was different stuff that we don't buy. We could try new things, and it was great. And I helped her like 2 days pack up her house and get stuff in order. And I probably got $1,000 from her freezer and her pantry.
Well, and kind of like when we were giving it away when we moved, they're actually relieved to have you take it. So it's not like you're taking advantage of them. Like they're relieved to have you take it. Like we were relieved to have people take it from us because we just didn't have to think of what to do with it.
Yeah.
And we were really good friends with a lot of these neighbors too. Like there was another neighbor that gave us like the lazy boy, like all kinds of them.
Yeah, that was the same one I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, and so along with that, I was going to say, was they also gave us a whole bunch of stuff. And they were like, oh man, I don't know. And I was like, well, bring it over. And I brought it over to my garage, and it was good stuff. And I listed several things and made like $500 or $600 off of Facebook Marketplace. And the rest of it, I just took to the thrift store for her. So I seriously got paid for that, for helping that neighbor move. She was so generous. Next one is the clearance aisles at Walmart, your clearance places like Grocery Outlet, all of those places. Look for your clearance foods. A lot of times, especially after the holidays, I don't know if Easter stuff now is 50% off for the chocolate and stuff. I forgot to check when I went to Walmart today. I should have checked. But after Easter, Halloween, Christmas, and Valentine's Day are the 4 best times to get current stuff if they put it on clearance. Now, last week, the Easter candy was only 25% off. But I have gone and like those cake mixes that I was talking about at the beginning of my show, they were 90% off. And I got them, I think it was 5 cents each, 5 or 10 cents each. And so I just bought everything they had because I was like, well, shoot, I'm going to stock up. So I got like 50 or 60 of it. No, I think I got 70 of them. And I just used them for several years. As a matter of fact, I did a video on it. So clearances are lovely. Picking on the side of the road.
I can't wait to hear this one.
If someone dumps all their groceries on the side of the road, I'll go pick them.
You mean like if it falls off their pickup or something?
No, I mean like berries, like we did in Idaho. When we lived in Idaho, there were blackberries all over the side of the road. We would go pick the blackberries. In Colorado, one of the universities had a test plot of apple trees, and they literally just let all the apples just fall on the ground and die. So every September, I would go and pick as many apples as I could. You can do that with blueberries and wild strawberries, which are kind of a pain in the butt to pick, but you can do it if you want.
It's the blackberries in Idaho, right?
Yeah.
That was really cool because we really had absolutely no money at that time. And at that time, we found a lot of stuff just by paying attention. And we got buckets and buckets of blackberries. And they were super expensive then, but we were getting them for free.
Yeah.
Because they were wild.
And what was the other? Oh, here it's choke cherries. They have choke cherries on the side of the road. You can just go pick. We have them all over our backyard. And there are people who, now this is getting a little gross, but there are people who will take their roadkill. So like if you hit a deer here, you can take it. You have to call wildlife and let them know, but you can take a deer and have them process it for you. I know other YouTubers, homesteading YouTubers that we're friends with, they would get the raccoon roadkill. I don't know that I would do that. But I guess if you're in Florida, you could get the alligator roadkill. I don't know. But
to me, the deer thing is, I mean, some of that, like we personally probably wouldn't eat stuff like raccoons unless we were dying. But the thing with the deer is if somebody hits a deer, they're supposed to have like a tag to hunt. But if they get in a car accident, the wildlife and the state patrol are just as soon have you take it than have it just rot on the road.
Valiant Badland says there's a group here that to join, you have to make a dish with roadkill. Oh, that's funny. The Bible says don't eat roadkill. What? That's not a Bible verse, is it? I think she's just being silly.
Well, it probably, I mean, yeah, the kind of animals that are likely to be killed on the road, we would probably not be inclined to want.
A deer is fine though. Probably a cow. I don't know. How would that work with a cow if you roadkilled a cow?
Well, I don't probably your insurance would have to pay for I'm sure your insurance would have to pay the owner of the cow unless the cow was.
I mean, if they're wandering.
If it's illegally out. Well, if it's out because they just weren't.
Because one time I heard a comedian, what's his name? You know, the guy that we went to see in Colorado Springs. Crud.
Oh. He's
Anyway,
really funny.
he had, oh shoot, I'm going to think of his name tonight. But anyway, he said that they were driving through Kansas one time and hit a cow in the middle of the night.
Well, I think if the cow, if a rancher left a gate open and then the cow got on the road and you hit the cow, then the rancher probably insurance has to pay for your car.
I would hope so.
But if you're like in a place like where we live, there are a lot of public ranges where it says, oh, this is open range. And like the government leases the land for ranchers. If you hit their cow, then you probably have to pay for it.
Yeah, I guess if it's on open range.
Because, yeah.
Okay, next. Picking orchards is another way to stockpile. So like we had a friend here and she said, hey, my niece has a bunch of apple trees. You want to come pick? And I did. And I made a whole bunch of applesauce and fruit leather. You could dry the apple slices if you want. Same with raspberries. I had another neighbor who had a whole bunch of raspberries. And she said, Tara, we just cannot eat them all. Do you want to come pick them? And I'm like, sure. Yeah, I'll come pick them. And so I got a whole bunch of raspberries too. Now, this next one nobody else talks about. But are you ready? School parties.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you reminded me of something else too.
What?
Well, it's not canned goods and things, but I used to bring home a bunch of stuff from work parties because they were going to throw it all away.
Yeah. Work parties, school parties, church potlucks. I help and volunteer for all of those things and help clean up. And then at the end, most of the mothers aren't volunteering. They just send food. I'll bring it home. And I have had packages of cookies and fruit and vegetables that I could bring home and dehydrate or freeze or just eat right then. We've had lots of candy from those kinds of things. And so I volunteer for all of those. I volunteers for all of those things. And so,
so just for the Bible debate about roadkill, it says that you're
Deuteronomy 14.
Well, first of all, you're
in Leviticus.
Well, the Deuteronomy 14 didn't bring it up.
Deuteronomy 14.
Wait a minute. Why didn't it bring it up?
Deuteronomy 14:21, she says. Do 14:21.
I did that already. I mean, I don't want to stall the show too much, but
but
Leviticus has a thing that says not anything found dead or torn by wild animals. But
if you hit it, you're not finding it.
Yeah,
dead.
I was going to say that's the thing. If you hit it, you're not finding it dead. But the other, and I think, I think it was a restriction based on the safety of it. Well, plus the Israelites had a
14. What was it? Deuteronomy 14:21. Let's see. Do I get anything up on it? Consuming an animal that dies a natural death.
So Bible Gateway just must not be working.
So it says, do not eat anything you find already dead. You may give it to the foreigner residing in any of your towns, and they may eat it. Okay, so it has nothing to do with it being wrong. It's just that it's wrong for Jewish people, and they may eat it, or you may sell it to another foreigner. But you are a people holy to the Lord your God. Interesting. So I would say that's one of those things where in the New Testament, then it says all things are permissible to eat. So I would say that would override that.
Well, I think the thing is when it says if it's torn by wild animals or found, then that makes sense because it might be
rabies or
rotted or rabies or diseased or something. And that's, I think that's part of the reason for that prohibition.
Very interesting though, how the Bible has these things in the Bible. And people don't realize a lot of these laws that God has given people is just to protect them for their own safety. You know, when you think about that. So those are the 10 things. Oh, and and then I had one more bonus 111, grow expensive vegetables. Now, if you're going to spend your time growing food, make it be the expensive vegetables. And what do I mean by expensive vegetables? I mean, your peppers are more expensive. Your radishes, snow peas, the mini cucumbers, not the big cucumbers, excuse me, the mini cucumbers, strawberries, those are all what I call expensive fruits and vegetables. And I would grow those before I would grow things like tomatoes and onions, because tomatoes and onions are on the cheaper side, and peppers and strawberries and, well, any of your berries, blueberries, all of those are on the more expensive side. So if you're going to start a garden, start with the more expensive vegetables, and then you can start working your way to the cheaper vegetables if you want. But, you know, make sure on that it's actually worth your time. And guys, if you have comments or questions, please go ahead and post them and we will get to them in just 1 second. But I had a guy, we're giving away a whole bunch of rock. And a guy came with his family. I said, what are you doing with it? He said, oh, we're going to put it up a greenhouse. And I was like, he said, well, you know, the price of food these days, even if I grow two potatoes, it's going to be way cheaper than going to the grocery store. And I was like, you obviously have not gardened, dude. I, of course, did not keep my mouth shut.
You didn't keep your mouth shut with a string.
And I was like, well, I said, you know, I've been a gardener for 40 years now almost. And I said, really, most people who are just starting to garden aren't going to save a lot of money unless you want a can and stuff like that. He's like, oh no. I said, well, you know, it's by the time you spend $1,500 to $2,000 building a greenhouse, it's not that much. And he said, oh, well, I got 3 boys I got to feed. I'm like, yeah, I've had 3 boys. I get it. I'm right there. And I'm still telling you, but I didn't argue with him. He was kind of a jerk anyway. So I told him, don't come get more rocks, because I don't want to give him any more of my rocks. But
oh,
he was a jerk before all that started. But
you were nice about that part, right?
But yes, I was very nice about that part.
Well,
but
I realized we might need some of them too. So is that what you used as your reason?
Yep. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. So anyway, that's the 10 things that you can stockpile, and you didn't even know you could stockpile. 10 ways you can do that. Guys, our Mother's Day sale is happening right now. livingonadime.com, our volume 1 and volume 2. And then our gluten-free, dairy-free edition. You can buy our set of 2 and get 50% off, or our set of all 3. I can't get them all held up. And get 50% off.
Woohoo.
Right now. If you want to go ahead and send me the comments and questions.
That's the best price we ever do too. So that's
really
cool.
50% is the best we do. That's our moving sale prices, but we are just moving books right now.
We're not moving.
We're not moving. No, we are not moving right now.
You like our house.
Yeah. Nancy says tomatoes are always worth it. No, I mean, they're okay if you like the homemade tomatoes. I get that. But if you're going to focus on tomatoes, I would focus on expensive ones like the cherry tomatoes or the heirloom varieties before you would do your Roma and those other ones. But even for me, I am... oh, thank you.
You're hearing voices.
I'm like, I'm hearing voices talking. And the more expensive tomatoes, because like your Romas and all those, well, you know, you can get those for fairly cheap. But I mean, you can grow whatever you want. But like last year, I ended up not getting anything hardly because it got held out. So I picked what I could that, you know, that I could save. But
so tomatoes and peppers and onions and things are easier, or pretty easy to grow, right?
Yeah.
Why I couldn't think of the word?
Yeah. Why?
Yeah. Oh, just because I know that's what we've done in the past. We've done a lot of that,
yeah.
Cilantro and some other easy stuff like that.
Yeah, that's why I do it. Hello.
Actually,
yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just say hello, Jim. He's in
Hello,
Virginia.
Jim.
I did not know he was in Virginia.
Come out to Virginia sometime.
We should. Except it's not West Virginia, so we can't sing the song. So what do we do? Daisy says there's another tornado watch in Texas. I am hoping you guys are okay. So I am wondering, Does it seem like there's more tornadoes this year? It seems like, I don't know if we're just hearing about them more or if they're just happening more. But I'm curious to see if there are more tornadoes right now, because it seems like there's just tornadoes all over the place. I don't know, guys. Oops. Never mind. That one's not very good. I was trying to find a tornado graph to see if tornadoes are higher, but I can't find. I'm not very good at searching things very well. Tornado statistics by, yes, I mean tornado statistics. Oh, here. Okay, here we go. We got the government right here. Good old government. See, the government's got this. The government's got this, right?
Okay.
Oh, it doesn't have, this is 2022. Okay. But look at this. It is actually kind of, it is oh, it's not my imagination. Okay, look at this, guys. Look at this. It's not my, I knew it. I was right. Can I say I was right?
You always
Look
do.
at this. Look at this one right here. Look at this, guys. The tornadoes are getting worse.
Over what period of time?
Oh, 1991 to 2022.
Although the particular website you're on, I would wonder about the data.
Why? It's the government. It's NOAA.
No, it's climate.gov.
Well, I know, but it looks like the information's from NOAA. Isn't NOAA a reliable source?
You would think so.
Or are they just trying to push the whole, it's because of climate change?
Well, I think there's some of that. Yeah.
Okay, so now let's look at this one here. Hold on. Tornadoes by decades. Wait a minute. Are you guys still? Oh, you can't see. Hold on. Let me see here. Whoops. Okay. Let me try and find another. Are the tornadoes going up or are they not going up? That is the question. Huh. I don't. Oh, maybe not. Oh, you might be right. Maybe they're not. Well, no, they are. Here, look at this one right here. Okay, watch this one. They are going up. This is another one that's not the government. Here we go. You want to see, oops, how do I find it? Is that it? Oops, that's not, oops. Okay, that's wrong.
Okay.
But look, see, they are going up. Look at that. Oh my goodness. So it's not my imagination. Tornadoes are going up. Wow. Okay. Next one. Yeah, while we were on our trip to Branson last week, oh my goodness, we had what, 2 or 3 tornado warning and watches while we were on the way. It was crazy. Fro's family, hello. She's happy to catch us live after a long day without electricity. Yes, we are in one of those countries. We have internet service. Time to catch us tonight. All right, guys. Everyone who's laughing about my prepping and what happened today, I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. Spain and Portugal lost power for, I think they said 10 hours. It was a really super long time. 10 hours or something like that. And it was very interesting because I was hearing people, oh, it's chaos and bedlam, chaos and bedlam. Okay, well, some of the things like people on the trains and some of the train system things, that did look a little chaotic with people just kind of stuck. But everything else, it looked like people were just walking around and traffic was still just trying to go as they could. There wasn't like, it didn't look like a whole bunch of car accidents or anything, or people just dropping dead in the street because they were getting run over by cars. And people were just standing in line at the restaurants and they were just leaving the restaurants and stuff like that. So the news was reporting it as chaos and bedlam. But when you actually looked at the footage that the news was reporting, it wasn't chaos and bedlam. So I don't know, Fro's family, tell me, was it chaos and bedlam where you were? I'd be curious.
I used to work in television, close to media. I did not work in news, but I worked near news people, but I didn't work in news because I learned early on that
Bunch of lies.
News is not true most of the time. And sometimes it's not true because people intentionally change it to deceive you. Sometimes it's not true because young news people have 2 hours to get a story out and they don't understand the story by the time they publish it. And another way that it's not accurate is if somebody has a specific idea in mind that they're looking for when they go into it, they don't actually look at the story. They only look for things that confirm what they're already thinking, and that's what they put on the news. And it's funny because I've learned, well, first of all, being behind the scenes in television, I've seen that. I've seen it actually where like there was a frat party fight at Washington State University when I worked there. And the news in Seattle made it out to be this huge riot, like they're burning the whole city down. And they put the footage together in a way that looked like that was true. And when I was away at home over the weekend out of the city where I worked, and I got to work and I asked my friends about it, and they're like, "What riot?" And I realized they just basically made it up to be sensational. But I've also noticed if you go to another country, what you see on the news about that country isn't the experience you have when you're there usually. And it's funny because when our French friends came and visited, or when they came over here, and they were telling us that they're enjoying sharing with French people the truth about what America is like, it's because their media also isn't portraying America in the right way. So if you hear something on the news, I wouldn't just immediately think, well, they said it on the news, so it's true.
But at the same time, this is why you prepare, guys, because you never know when something like this will happen.
And sometimes there's usually some element of truth somewhere in it, like the power did go out in Spain.
Or something like Hurricane Helene will hit, and then you're going to be toast for weeks on end. I mean, there are people who were months without power over there. Jan, hello. Just made it back from Billings in time for live. Hello. Michelle, I'm going to look up the red dressing recipe. I buy it all the time for my cauliflower bites. Yeah, you might look up the recipe in there because it's really good, especially if you use sour cream or mayonnaise is what I do to make it cheaper. Nancy says, I live next to a church that has thrift sales 3 times a year. That's great. Jan, I made my sloppy joe. She made my sloppy joe recipe this week, and she got 2 thumbs up at her house. Her son said, put it in the rotation. That is great.
That is awesome.
You can go to Living on a Dime.
Our kids have loved that one too.
Yeah, you can go to livingonadime.com and get that recipe right there. Rebecca, I have foods that was years out of date and still good. Yes, exactly. Michelle, and she kept it in a dark room.
Oh, sorry. I'll wait till you get to that comment.
Michelle said she has a cousin who goes to garage sales. And she's gotten a whole bunch of deals because they just want to get rid of their stuff. Yep, exactly. Terry, helping people pack and move, open cleaning and extra supplies, extra unopened hygiene products, fridge, freezer contents, old garden tools, garden stuff. Yep, all those things are great. Terry says Walmart only has 20 to 30% off right now for their clearance for the Easter stuff. Claire says my father used to make choke cherry wine in big green plastic trash buckets, but it must have been pretty good because lots of people drank it. That's funny. Maybe I should try that now. Michelle, I live in Central Ohio. Hocking Hills is an hour south from here. Our friends like venison. My uncle didn't trust it because it didn't go through the USDA or whatever. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Babs is excited that we're live. And Michelle says our pizza groups, or our church group sponsored a pizza party and they ordered too much pizza. So actually, my son goes to youth group every week, and pretty much every week, two nights a week, I don't have to feed him anything, which is great. But then he also brings home the extra pizzas, and I don't have to feed his brothers either.
There are a lot of events that we've gone to where people are just trying to get rid of it at the end. They're like, anyone want this? Anyone want to take it? And nobody will take it. So we'll bring 5 pizzas home.
Yeah. And Terry says she loves the dead and dying veggie trays, wash off and dressing off and chop up its desired to make stock or eat with meat. Yeah.
Actually, can I share another story?
No, you can't.
Okay. It's Tara's channel. So last year, Jack and I were with the school. And we were on a road trip and stopped at Olive Garden, and everybody got some various things. But at the end, there were like, the Olive Garden salads. There were like 3 of them that were completely untouched and lots of breadsticks. And I was like, do I do this with everybody there?
Yes.
So I went and asked them for some to-go containers, and I took all of the complete salads and all the breadsticks because everyone just left it on the table, and we were all leaving. They were just going to throw it away, and I was like, we like those salads and the breadsticks and stuff. So I brought home some, and we ate it for like several days.
And now everybody at the church and school knows. Okay, ask Tara if she wants it, because they know that I'll usually take it.
Yeah.
So.
But it's funny because I don't know what the reasoning is for not taking it, but I think some of it is just, we're kind of harried with all the things we're doing. And so we just don't want to mess with it. And I'm thinking I'll mess with it because that's really good stuff that we could make it, but it's kind of a pain to make it that complicated. So
Fro's family says, we had mini stockpiled and rode through the day. We are in a small town and everyone just seemed to shrug and carry on as best as they could with power outages. There you go.
What was it? Oh.
So yeah, Connie says, hi from Deadwood. It's snowing. Yes, it was snow raining here today. Yes, you can send me the next ones. So yeah, it's winter in Wyoming and South Dakota. What can you expect? Bounty in the Badlands. Bounty, did you get my email? If you did, the people found a place to park, so you don't need to answer that. Wild asparagus, choke cherries, Saskatoon. I have no idea what Saskatoon is. Buffalo berries, horseradish root, raspberries, mushrooms are all around here. Holy moly. Most people pick the areas are secret areas. I think they keep them secret. Yeah. In Colorado, in the ditches, asparagus grew a lot, and people would go this time of year and pick all the asparagus.
And actually, another thing is, if you like the gardening, because Tara loves the gardening, and we were in Idaho and we had no money. We got the blackberries, but we also found one little asparagus plant in our yard, and we transplanted it.
Yep.
And then we found one little raspberry plant that was dying, and we transplanted it into an old tree stump, and it just went completely crazy and was producing like crazy. And then we got broccoli from somebody,
I started.
Oh, you started the broccoli? And then we got, there was a guy who was going to just throw away, like rip out all of the rhubarb at his house and throw it away. So we got that and strawberries. So we just gathered all this stuff for free. And of course, since Tara likes gardening and we had no money at the time, we had these massive gardens.
And Mom got to enjoy the strawberries because we ended up moving before they really were producing.
I don't know. I kept having to cut the plants out of the paths because they were
they were doing that. So that's a great way to get free plants if you want free plants also. Jenny, Mom is doing well. Thank you very much for asking. All right. Well, Mike's getting me the next set of questions here. Look at what I got. So I wanted to show you guys today what I went and stocked up. And you guys are going to be shocked when you hear the price of this. I about had a coronary when I went to the store. So I got floss picks and I got toothbrushes. I got some toothpaste. I got some pain rub. I got rubbing alcohol and shampoo. And I have to use the sensitive toothpaste. So I got some of that. And I got Mike his non-SLS toothpaste, which he can do without that if we have a thing. If we have I can do without mine too. But non-SLS toothpaste is just, he gets canker sores, and we discovered that was what it was that was causing the canker sores. Well, he can just use baking soda and water if he needs to brush his teeth in an emergency. All of us can, but
I've done it before. It's a little gnarly, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Get used to it.
Then I also ran to a garage sale and I got this Tupperware bowl for $2 with the lid and another George Foreman grill for $1. We go through the George Foreman grills about, I'd say every 3 to 4 months, I have to get a new George Foreman grill at this point in our life. So when I find them at the thrift stores for $1 to $3, I pick them up when they're brand new, and I just exchange it out when the boys have destroyed them. And And then we have our allergy relief. I got 4 bottles of that, and Aleve and aspirin, and that little makeup there, which wasn't a stockpile. I just accidentally threw that in there. And then cold and flu Dayquil and some bandages. I got all of that. Everybody take a wild guess. I want people to guess at how much that cost. Did I tell you how much it cost?
I think you did.
Did I? Okay. I want everybody to guess how much that cost, because I'm curious to see what you guys think. All right. While we're getting some guesses in here, Carol says, I live in Washington State and we can harvest roadkill. Yep. Where I live, we are overrun with deer, and it's not unusual for deer to be hit. Several neighbors have harvested vehicle processed deer. I'm waiting for mine.
I do think that most people that do
great.
that, they're not just picking up some random smushed animal on the road. They're generally either accidentally running over it or seeing somebody else do it first.
Yeah. No,
so it's not like been laying there rotting for ages.
Yeah. So some of you are guessing like $5 and stuff. I mean, how much do you think all of my stockpile was that I got there today with all the medications and stuff? $100, $200, $150, $50. 95, Barbara says. 50, Michelle says 40. Have you guys been to Walmart lately? Bought any of this stuff?
I was a little surprised the other day when I got some stuff there.
Okay, so that pile that I got, do you guys got your heart medicine? $250 for that small pile. It was 6 bags of things. $250. $250. The Leave was $10 each. The Allegra was $20 each. Nancy says free with my good looks and charms. Oh man, I wish.
I'd give it to you free for that.
You would? Are my
Yes.
good looks and charms worth something to you?
Yes,
Oh,
they are.
that's great. Yeah, so holy
So I'm
moly.
curious. So do you think, I mean, I guess you'd have to look at actual data to know for sure, but do you think, how much do you think it's increased in the last like 4 to 6 months?
4 to 6
Is it a
months?
massive increase in that time?
No, I would say probably
Or just over the last...
5 to 10% in the last 4 to 6 months. But since COVID, it's gone up about 25%. But I think part of it now is some of them are just raising prices because they can, because everybody's talking about it.
Well, I was wondering about that too.
Because
if places think you're expecting to pay more, then they'll happily charge you more. And
I think they are.
And then say, well, you were watching the news.
Donnie says nothing is better than homegrown tomatoes to me. Yes, you can grow tomatoes. I'm not saying don't grow tomatoes, but I'm saying for money saving purposes, you can get canned tomatoes for super cheap. So focus on the more expensive vegetables for canning and freezing and dehydrating is what I'm saying. Kimberly says, I do tomatoes and peppers. I just used the last of my peppers from last year and I still have gallons of tomatoes left. Yep. She's grown them for a long time. Yep. Terry, radishes are easy and fit under and around other things. Yes. And they only grow in about 25 to 30 days too. She says 22 days to 30 days. Yep. Nancy, Terry, excuse me. For beginners, go for small and medium tomatoes. Yes, that is true. And Tanya, Teresa says tomatoes are easy. Guys, I'm not saying you can grow tomatoes. It's okay to grow tomatoes. Oh. I'm just saying from a money saving standpoint, if you're going to be canning and dehydrating and freezing stuff, pick the more expensive fruits and vegetables first. And then if you want to do tomatoes, that's fine. But like I wouldn't grow tomatoes or potatoes to save money.
They're really cheap already.
They're so cheap already, it's not worth it.
Yeah. So a number of people were confused when you asked them how much do you think you paid for that. They thought that you were stockpiling that at a thrift store, like you were saying earlier.
Oh, I'm very sorry. No, I got it at Walmart. I apologize. Yes, I did not make that distinction. I went to Walmart today to stockpile those things. I am sorry. So yeah, it was $250 for those things. So that's why when I see this kind of stuff at the thrift stores, I pick it up. I have gotten hair products at the thrift stores. I've gotten painkillers that were unopened. The Bengay, I've gotten that at the thrift stores. Hair color, lotions, bubble baths, all kinds of those things at the thrift store for literally pennies. Deborah says, Tara, your volume 1 cookbook has served me well. I've had it for years. Thank you. Yes, this has been in print for 25 years. Been in print for 25 years.
Wow. Are we that old?
We are that old. Yeah.
I remember, what was his name from the money show on the Christian stations?
Larry Burkett had us on.
I remember listening to, what was the show called? Money Matters?
Yeah. I was on Money Matters.
I would sit in the car listening to Money Matters on my lunch from working at the university and be proofreading the book.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Those were the days.
Let's see. Lori, and Bounty all have had tornadoes. Holy cow. Nancy says a lot of volcanic activity in the past 3 years causing weather issues. Yeah, that's true. You're right. Yeah, everybody's saying tornadoes up. You can send me the next one. Julie, what do I think about the tariffs? Did we talk about this on the last live? I can't remember.
I don't think on the show.
I don't think I did on the show, but I did a standalone video on that. But I'll just give you kind of the brief synopsis. I'm not really worried about it. Listen, forgive my French for this, but you're damned if you do and damned if you don't in this situation. Well, I don't know how else to say that. You're darned if you do and you're darned if you don't. I don't know. Because here's the thing. Our economy cannot possibly keep going on the way it has the last 20 years, and especially the way it has the last 4 years. It just cannot possibly, it's just not sustainable, period. But to correct it, it is going to be a huge problem. And here's the thing. Yes, we can put tariffs on everything. And first of all, it's a big poker game. This is just a big poker game. And if everybody would stop whining and just let the president play the poker game, we would win.
You don't get to be a billionaire by not knowing how to do
money. By not knowing how to do deals.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Even if everything is made in America again, which it should have always been in the first place. We should have never outsourced, especially things like medications. That's just sheer stupidity.
Well, back when that thing going around in 2020 happened, and they suddenly brought up the idea that, yeah, our medicine is all made in China. And I was thinking, what? Like, if we have an emergency, we don't have control of that.
So here's the thing. Even if we got all of the factories up to make everything we need in America, the medications, the cars, the appliances, all of the tchotchkes that we buy, toothpaste, all that stuff. Even if we got all the factories up and running, it's going to take a lot longer than 4 years to even get that done. Secondly, who's going to work in these factories? All these, I know I'm going to have union workers yelling at me, but all these union workers who demand $25 to $30 an hour to turn screws all day long. I come from a union city. I grew up in a union city, airplane manufacturing. Believe me, $30 to turn a screw on airplanes is good pay. It does not take a half a Marine to do that. But Americans are going to insist that they have a living wage. Your prices are going to go up anyway. So there's not a situation where you can win. There's not a, how do I say this? There's not a way that we can do this where we're going to win at all, especially when it comes to prices. It's just not possible to win this.
Well,
so let the president play the poker game, and we might still be able to get stuff imported from China while we're trying to get stuff up and running, if we can do that. But, we're not going to have enough factories and all of that to make all this stuff. And then even if we did, it's not going to be cheap.
I don't think that the goal is to move all the manufacturing back here.
I know, but that's what people keep acting like. Oh, we have to buy in America. You can't do that anymore.
Well, I think it would be nice to do that in some ways. For example, with us being on our second refrigerator that's dead in 21 months. If quality came back, that would be amazing. But a lot of the companies might say, people put up with junk all this time, so let's just keep making it, but make it here. But if people make it here and it's better quality and it lasts 3 times as long, then it would be worth it. Yeah. And so it's hard to tell. That's the kind of thing that I don't entirely understand the way that would all work. But I also know that a lot of the issue is almost every country we trade with has tariffs against us.
Yeah.
So that we buy everything from them and they don't buy very much stuff from us. And it's really bad with China right now. And it's enabled China to have a lot of American cash to buy American things in America. And I think largely the idea is to get other countries to remove those barriers so that their people can choose to buy our stuff if they want to. It's not like if China took off their tariffs that they would be in bad shape, because most of their people are too poor to buy American stuff anyway.
So here's the thing.
I'm
not worried about it.
I think ultimately it would be a protection for a lot of things, like having medicines made here and some things like that. But there are some benefits I think that are coming because of it, that probably the pain of the tariffs is a short-term pain.
So I'm not worried.
And you can see, like, with all the countries except for China, all those tariffs are currently suspended. So I think he's just trying to make deals and work things out. So I think it'll be good in the end. I'm just not sure how. Go ahead.
Done. Just making sure you're done.
Yep.
I'm not worried.
Oh, and also, just had to do that for you, my love.
I'm not worried about it. Here's the thing. If the prices go up, you're just going to have to adjust. So as I'm glancing here, Ellen says American Giant charges $45 for a t-shirt. So those are kinds of prices people need to adjust to. Yes, you will have to adjust to it. So what does that mean? That means you buy 1 or 2 t-shirts every 3 to 4 years instead of buying 10 t-shirts every year. You're going to have to adjust. You're not going to be buying a whole bunch of junk. You're going to buy the bare necessities. You're going to go back to how they did before, where the kids had 1 pair of shoes and you wore those until they were absolutely worn out. The kids hand me down all of their clothes. You're going to be patching clothes. You're going to be doing everything you can to save money. Do I think the shelves are going to be totally empty? Probably not totally empty, but I wouldn't diddle around either. I would at least have a month's worth of food in your house if you can, and you have the place to store it. The average person has enough room to stockpile at least a month's worth of food. But you're just going to have to adjust. You're not going to be able to have the fun things anymore. You're not going to be able to have car payment. You're not going to be able to have student loans. You're not going to be able to have credit card debt, because you're not going to be able to afford those things. So if the number one thing I would say is to get out of debt, stay out of debt, then when these things happen, you can just ride the waves as you're going through. I mean, it's just always an up and down thing that always happens. Okay. Next one is...
I would say that most of us don't understand quite what the game is, but based on other things he's done in the past that have been an economic benefit, and based on the fact that he runs some businesses and has made a lot of money doing that, I think he knows what he's doing more than most of the rest of us do in terms of financial things. And for those of you who aren't in the US and he makes some big, like, crazy sounding statement.
Yeah, guys, we're not going to annex Canada.
It's just a game. It's a poker game it's playing a game to get other people to back down on things like, I don't remember what the situation is that he's trying to deal with Canada about, but I know I think some of it is people can go into Canada and then come across the border from Canada with fewer restrictions than just coming straight into the country. And so I think it's a border issue, like feeling like things are coming across the border and trying to get cooperation. I'm not quite sure what the issue is there, but I do know that it's just a poker game. It's not. Regardless of what he says, the plan is not to annex Canada.
No. All right. Jim says, I believe the increase.
I actually think he's joking around too with some of the leadership up there, just to kind of,
Jim says, I believe the increased storms are a sign of the end times. Yes, it is exactly the sign of the end times. The Bible tells us that there is going to be weather issues in sky and signs in the sky. So yes, it is definitely the sign of the end times. I expect Jesus to show up any day now. Although Mike had a very interesting note about Revelation yesterday after church, and I'm like, okay, now that's depressing. I mean, he said that's depressing, but I'm like, yeah, that's really depressing. He noticed in Revelation, I think it was 21:4, where it says there'll be no more tears or anything. He said, wait a minute, that's talking about the 1,000-year millennia. So does that mean that we're gonna have to at least wait another 1,000 years until we have no more tears? I'm like, well, yeah, that's pretty depressing if that's the case. I don't know if that's the case.
Well,
I've asked a couple of people who are experts in Revelation what they think about that. So it'll be interesting to see what they say.
It says at the end of the 1,000 years, the devil will be released to tempt the nations again. So if all of that is gone, then how would that be possible? And I realized, wait a minute. So, I mean, it's fine if that's the way it is. But I was thinking, what? I was so looking forward to seeing that sooner.
Yep. So I don't know. That's a very interesting way to look at it. All right. Let's see. Next one. Oops, my thing got there. Mary says during Hurricane Helene, I know people who didn't get power back for 8 weeks. Whew, yeah. Guys, you never know when something like that is going to happen in your area. You just have to be ready. Barbara says, if I was in Spain without electricity, I just enjoy the quiet, take a book, and sit on the seaside and sunbathe. Absolutely. Kimberly, my husband's absolute favorite is the meatloaf and the Sloppy Joes and Dining on a Dime cookbook. Guys, 50% off if you buy our sets right now, 40% off the individual books. These, Volume 1 and Volume 2, can be used together, but they are totally separate recipes. If you need to start somewhere, start with Volume 1. And then our gluten-free, dairy-free edition right here. If you need to be gluten-free, dairy-free like me, I put all of my recipes in there for you to make it easy.
Woohoo!
Kimberly, don't forget you can get other supplies from thrift stores and garage sales like sleeping bags, blankets, tents, camp stoves. Yep, exactly. Especially in the winter if you don't have electricity. Yeah, I have a good stockpile of blankets because we have kids and their spouses now coming in and out. And so I don't know how many people at one time will be at my house. So I make sure that I have at least 2 blankets for 10 people. So that's the minimum that I have. But yeah. Let's see. Bounty Badlands. Yes, 51 state stuff is a joke, but the amount of Canadians that are buying into it scares the bejeebers out of me. I know. I'm like, seriously, people. Well, he's just messing around.
Well, it's kind of funny that I think this is part of his negotiating tactic is he kind of throws people off balance thinking, would he really do that? What? Like,
I don't know.
In a sense, it's like
Americans like Canadians. I don't know why this has all turned into a big hoo-ha because we have no problem with Canadians. Jenny says, my son and his family almost died in a house fire in February. I'm sitting here in their new house while the internet is being installed. They just got the keys today. Wow. I'm so glad they are okay. That's scary. Fro's family. Oh, I already did that one. Jenny said, Olive Garden is great. Yeah, but we went on our trip to Missouri. Oh, I think that's probably the last time I'm going to be eating at Olive Garden.
What was that?
Cow, Olive Garden is expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Man alive, not even close to being worth it. I mean, it was good, but not for the $20 a person. Valley hasn't checked the email. That is no problem, just to let you know on that. What do I get from Habitat for Humanity? humanity. So my habitat has things like appliances and furniture, sinks, toilets, paint. Their paint is really good. I like their paint. And then they have a bunch of kitchen stuff, and they have pictures, and then they have how-to stuff like curtain rods and nails and screws and a bunch of things like that. So those are all the kinds of wood. I get that. And fencing. I just got a big thing of fencing at mine. So yeah. Jan says can get cheaper with coupons at Walgreens. Oh, well, that's good to know. On my stockpile stuff I just got and wasted all that money, and I could have got it at Walgreens for cheaper.
Yeah.
I don't shop at Walgreens anymore. I used to shop there all the time, but I don't shop there now. I guess I should start looking into that. Rachel says garlic would be worth it for me. Yeah, garlic could be a good one. Wanda, sometimes it's a matter of the store having stuff in stock in good quality. Yes. Nancy, garlic always begins to sprout, so I keep it in pot in for the tops. Yep, exactly. Allison, you can send it to me the next. Allison, I have read Larry Burkett's books. Very good. His How to Thrive in the Underground Economy was very good. His fiction was great too. Yes, Larry was really good. He was a really nice guy to talk to too. Carol Ann, I buy medical supplies at thrift stores, and when my insurance plan had over-the-counter medication benefit, I made sure to get full benefit. Yep. Granny Prepper, the book has been published for 25 years. I've only been following Frugal Channels for about 4 years, but hey, that is great that you are getting your stuff together and get out of debt. That is wonderful. All right.
Did you read this one already? I think you did.
Yes, I did.
I thought I heard you say
that. Frosty Gal says, did you get her comment at the start of the chat?
Yeah, I have it in the new section
okay.
here. Do you want to read it? Well, it's just about, this one.
She said, I was going to say I live in Southern Oregon and Portland. It's not what it used to be. I never go there. Yeah, my aunt lives in Portland, and it's toilet now, just like Denver.
Well, Seattle seems to have gone that way a lot since I was there last too.
Yeah. It's a toilet.
I realize that every town has its good places and bad places, but wow. Yeah. They have a lot of bad optics there in the last 5 years.
Blessed and Blended says, I'm learning to sew. We get so many clothes from all these people who overconsumed. I hadn't bought clothes for 4 out of the 7 kids for years. Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's absolutely wonderful. And take advantage of all of those that you can. That's why I don't worry about things like that, like these whole tariffs things, because I know that I have shopped thrift stores, garage sales, hand-me-downs for our whole entire life. I know we can do it. I know that if I needed to buy underwear at the thrift store, I could do it. It's not that big of a deal. You just throw them in the washer with some bleach and they're all fresh. So I do buy us new underwear, but if I had to, that's what I would do. I know that if I had to, we could do without probably 95% of the stuff we buy right now. I mean, we really could.
Actually, I think that people have just gotten used to, because things are cheap, having a lot more things and a lot more things that we don't really need. I'm not saying, I'm not determining which things various people need. I just know that if we couldn't buy some of the stuff we do buy, it wouldn't really hurt us.
I mean, I would be okay.
In fact, some things I've been thinking more about. Mostly what we've been buying is just things that we use. What do you call it? Expendable things.
Yeah.
Things that you use up.
Consumables.
So we don't buy a lot of hard things unless they're at the thrift store mostly.
Yeah.
But even so, a lot of the consumables we've bought, we don't necessarily need either.
Yeah, like Diane says, we don't need all the Chinese cheap junk. Yeah.
Well, and that's it's really been bothering me lately, that there's so much stuff that we've been buying lately that's just not good at all. I bought a humidifier on Amazon and it lasted 90 days. I couldn't get any tech support from the company. Amazon was like, you're past the return policy. And I'm thinking, so it's just Chinesium. I mean, it's cheap stuff that's designed to basically get you to buy it and then not be able to return it. And I went to Walmart and I got a different one and it wasn't putting out any humidity. And that one I was able to take it back, but it's just cheap stuff, and it makes me not want to buy anything
Yeah.
without really thinking hard about it. Because in the old days, you used to think hard about it because you knew you might not be able to take it back.
Nancy says bike tire patches are your best friend for patching holes in sneakers. That's a great idea, actually. That's really smart. Allison, Seattle's port is said to be completely silent, no ships. Wow. Okay, so that would be something that might start giving you pause to think, okay, what do I need to stock up with?
It'd be cool to see if that's true. Where did you hear?
If the ports, heard it from? Allison?
She said it's said to be completely silent, so I was wondering where she heard it.
I don't know.
Because we've had our stuff go through the Seattle port before. I'd be curious. There's probably ways to see or whatever. I'd be curious to see. One time we had when they had that supply chain thing, we had stuff stuck offshore in Los Angeles, and we were there for a YouTube conference, and we knew
we were probably looking down on our stuff on the boat. We flew over and we
saw a bunch of boats standing out from the shore, and I thought,
which ones are
one of those has our books on it. And they weren't from China, by the way.
Mary used to buy seconds and thirds from factories to save money. Yep, exactly. Blessed and blended. We have a month worth, no complications. Very good. Shoestring Homestead. You see, Trump is what JFK would have been. I'm not sure what that means, but yeah.
I've heard people say that, but I'm not sure what JFK would have been.
Yeah. And yes, Canada is voting today. I don't know, Bounty in the Badlands.
Yeah, they're having a huge election.
Although today. I hear they're electing, so far they think that the ding-a-ling guy that's just as bad as Trudeau is winning so far, from what I heard. What do I think about the blackout in Europe? So I talked about that a little bit earlier in the show. You can go back and see that. Did you send me the next one? Let's see. Next one.
Oops, I'll send it to you.
Frosty Gal says, I look forward to every video. Both you and Mike's guidance and leadership has been valuable to me and my little family here in Oregon. Well, thank you. It's actually nice to know that all the stuff that you're doing just isn't totally in vain. You know, I was talking about helping someone declutter, and then they decided they didn't want to with me anymore. And then someone else was helping them with a little bit. And she said, you know, if you wouldn't have gotten this started, there's just no way we would have been able to do this right now. And I was like, well, that was nice for her to say that, so that I knew that all those hours that I had spent doing that wasn't just wasted. And so it is nice to know, because we were looking at video statistics today, trying to decide which way to go with videos. Again, I know it's a never-ending thing with YouTube. And I told Mike, I said, part of the problem is just knowing that you're not just doing all this for nothing, you know? So that really helps when you say that. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Darlene makes my banana bread every Sunday for Bible study. Thank you so much. Volume 1 is the original recipe, and then Volume 2 has the original recipe and 14 variations. The muffins and the banana bread are the only 2 repeat recipes because I wanted to put the variations in, but I didn't have room in this volume. So 50% off right now the set if you want, or 40% off the individual books, livingonadime.com. And Water Bucket says, Volume 1, the oatmeal raisin cookies are delicious. Are those not just the most darn tootin'
really
delicious
good
thing? The doctor has me on this really strict vegetable and meat diet, and I'm just like, you know what? This point, I don't care. I have been without sugar for 6 weeks now. Do I look like I'm in any better of a frame of mind since I've been off sugar for 6 months or 6 weeks?
Every time
I am not.
I was telling Tara today, every time a doctor tells her, oh, go off of everything and go on some sort of super restricted diet, she never seems happier. And when she goes off of it, it's like this big relief. Like, I don't think I would do that anymore.
Well, the thing is, I know some of these things make me sick, but if I'm not feeling that much better, which I feel a little bit better, but not that it's worth eating fish tacos for the rest of my life. Anyway, Karen, can you plant sprouted garlic? Yes, you can. Although garlic does best in the fall, if you plant it in the fall and then harvest it early summer. let's see. But you can plant it and use the tops of the garlic and the green tops, like green onions. You can do that also. Blessed and Blended says Denver is so bad. You can send me the next one. Yeah, she's a native. Denver is a toilet. Absolute toilet. If my grandmother wasn't living there, I would probably never step foot in Colorado again. Well, then we wouldn't be able to see Goalie and Freed. Okay, well, I'd go to see our friends Goalie and Freed there. But I don't know. I'm so done with Colorado.
Although we might need to go see them in another state pretty soon.
That's true if they decide to go.
They also are kind of done with it.
Yeah, they're done with it too. Barbara, I think a lot of old factories will be manned by robots a lot quicker than finding Americans to work in them. Exactly. What Americans are they going to get to work in these factories? And if they do, the prices are not going to be cheap. It's not going to be cheap.
Well, there's some interesting comments further down that you probably didn't get to.
Judy says she loves our cookbooks. They are the best cookbooks. Thank you. And you are wise with your money to go ahead. Thank you very much. Yes, you do get your money's worth on our cookbooks. You will save on the first trip to the grocery store. Julie, people need to remember that they are in control of their lives and the choices they make. If you spend wisely on all purchases, food, clothing, entertainment, etc., you will have more control and not less anxiety. Yes.
Yeah.
Katie says she loves the stacked enchiladas recipe. Thank you. That is in volume 1 also. Marty, the new factories will be different from the old manufacturing factories. AI, computer technology, jobs, robots will be the key, but hopefully America will be more self-sufficient. Yep.
Well, I think that's the thing. Not everything would be. I don't know that it's all about just bringing jobs back. I mean, it is to some degree, but I think that largely it's just having more control of the things that could hurt us, like, having medicines made here, being able to get just different things like that. There are a lot of different things that I think they're trying to do with that. And it's not just him doing it, but.
Kimberly says, I've got all my grandkids' clothes at thrift stores, garage sales. You can find a lot of stuff with tags on it. I know, it's crazy, isn't it? She said they go through the stuff so fast. Yeah, why pay full price at the store? Yep. Julie says, I agree, Mike, because things are cheap. We buy more than we need. Yep. Amy.
Well, and you know what's funny about that is I've noticed when it's a birthday or something like that, for Tara and I, a lot of times I think, there's a lot of stuff we could buy for each other that we don't really need or particularly want or know that we're missing. And I think a lot of people just buy stuff like that because you're supposed to do that. But we found there are other ways to do nice things for each other for those occasions. So why buy cheap stuff that you're going to throw away?
Amy has one of our old spiral bound cookbooks. That is great.
Nice.
Great. Yeah, I think we have 12 editions total. 12 or 13 different editions over the 25 years. And Granny Pepper says, even with coupons, I don't find raw greens to be cheap. Oh, well, there you go. I guess it just depends on what you're buying there, maybe. And she's been debt-free for 3.5 years. Good job. That is great. Bounty in the Badlands. Tara, did you see my comment last video? We talked about the lady who lost their livestock to hoof and mount disease. Her heart is still pounding. I know. I was thinking of you when I read that because they're in North Dakota. So, I mean, I know you're in Canada, but I was just thinking, wow, the similarities there were pretty funny. Frosty Gal says she looks forward to every video. Oh, I think I said this one. That our guidance has helped their little family in Oregon. Thank you.
Wow.
Tanya, they raised the gas to $3.39 today, but Myers still has $2.94. She filled up on her way home. It went up to $3.39. Wow, good job. Bounty says, I actually like the cheap Chinese Walmart t-shirts for my summer work shirts. $5 each. I buy 6 every spring. They're rags by fall, but so are expensive ones. Yeah, see, that's the problem now. You're right on that. Is that the stuff is made so awful now. It used to be you could wear a t-shirt for 20, 30, 40, even 50 years. There's t-shirts from the 70s that are still in really good shape, but you get t-shirts from 4 or 5 years ago and they're rags. It's just because everything is just built so awful.
But I think one thing what she was saying, or at least part of that was, for some kinds of really messy work, it might be good to use the mostly disposable things.
Yeah.
Because, they're on a ranch.
Yeah.
So,
Miriam, you helped me so much changing my mindset on spending. That is great. Actually, my son this morning, so he took the Dave Ramsey financial freedom class at school. And he was like, well, Mom, why don't you and Dad have a budget? Because we don't have a budget. We've never had a budget, really. We've written down our bills, but we don't really have a budget. I said, because in my mind, I only pay the bills first. Then if there's anything left over, then we can have some fun, or we'll pay off our debt, or we'll save up, or whatever. But for us, we just pay the bills. Like, I don't just go to Walmart and just buy new lipstick and new whatever just because I feel like a new lipstick. I don't shop like normal people because I just don't go buy stuff just to buy it.
Yeah, for the budget, Tara's never really had a spending problem, or at least she's never had a spending too much problem. I think sometimes she feels bad about spending for herself on things that are okay to spend on in our current situation. Like, she might feel bad about buying plants to put in the garden, and so she'll tell me, well, I've sold some stuff on Facebook Marketplace. I'm like, dear, you can just go buy it. You don't have to justify
I know, but I have a hard time justifying buying plants.
So she's never had a problem with overspending. I had a problem with overspending before we got married. But we just had this agreement that she would do the spending and I would do the calculating, because I was better at the bookkeeping and the organizational part of that. And
he doesn't go buy a new 4x4 or a snowmobile or truck without talking to me.
I mean, for any large expenses, I would always ask her. There are a lot of smaller expenses. Generally, I don't ask on really small things, but there are a lot of, I still don't buy a lot of those smaller things anyway. Like, if they're $20 items, I don't buy a lot of $20 items. I wouldn't feel the need to ask permission, but like, we're agreeing together that we're a team on this and we're working to make it all work. And so we've just found that she's never had a spending problem. And I have when I realized I did, I said, okay, you do the spending and I do the, keeping track of it. So we haven't really needed a budget in that sense. But I do think in the back of my mind, well, the back of both of our minds, we do have a sense of how much we spend. And it's almost like there is a thing that we're operating with in our minds about how much we're spending and how much money should go to different places. So we just don't write it down because we don't need to. I think it's more important for people who they're eating out all the time. The money's just going out the door and they can't pay their mortgages, or there's just a massive amount of debt or whatever. Are you catching my kisses, Quenny?
No, it was a dumb fly got caught in my hair.
Oh, okay.
But
it looked like you didn't want to miss it. So
yeah. But actually, I got this comment today. And Tanya says, a lot of the problem is your attitude. I think she means me. It rubs people, including myself, the wrong way. Well, then don't let the door hit you on the way out. It's fine.
Oh, this is on a video today?
Yeah, you don't have to watch my videos. But she says also it doesn't have to be all or nothing. As far as I'm concerned, if you set a budget, that will help you get out of debt. You can put anything in your budget. If you can fit Coke or name brand that you love on sale in your budget, why not? I got an answer to that. If you feel like blueberries, they're on sale and it's your budget, then why not? If you keep track of, if it keeps you on track and you're happy and save money. Problem is, all of our bills have gone up. Groceries may not have gone up according to you as much as people say, but what about all of our other bills that have gone up? Property taxes, insurance, electricity, everything. So why, if you can put all these things in your budget, why not? Okay, it doesn't matter if you are spending $500 to $1,000 a month because it's in the budget and you could be putting it on your debt. That's absolutely ridiculous. And the problem is if you want to do that, that's totally fine. But don't come into my channel whining that, and I quote, everything, all my bills have gone up. Property taxes, insurance, electric, everything. So if you're out buying blueberries and you're out buying Coke and you can't pay your property taxes, insurance, and electric, that's your problem.
Yeah, I think the issue is because
that's why not.
She said about if you could afford the Coke or afford the blueberries. But the thing is, if you're complaining because you can't make your bills, and you're complaining because you have student loans, and you're complaining because your car payment's too high, and you're complaining because of all these things, but you say, I can afford it to buy expensive optional items, that's the reason that those are the places where Tara has no patience, because blueberries are nice, but they're not cheap. And so if you're complaining about the bills you can't pay while you're spending on luxurious things.
Well, why do you think it's okay to budget $600 to $1,000 a month on groceries? Let's say if you have a family of 4, that's what a lot of people do. They'll budget $1,000 a month on groceries.
Wow.
But you can spend $400 a month on groceries and use all that other money to pay your debt off, to pay your house off, or to pay all the expenses that you can't afford now. That's why not. And people just cannot get that through their thick skulls. And I don't know how to pound it in their heads, but yeah.
Well,
anyway.
I guess the thing is, we've just always prioritized spending on the needs first. And I think people get confused about the wants and needs. And that was we actually had a lot of discussions around the table with Tara's cousin and his wife when we lived in Idaho, and some other people about wants and needs and how people get confused about that, because, you need a place to live. It doesn't have to be a fancy place. It just has to be a place to keep you from dying. I mean, that's like the basic. You can have better if you're making enough money for it to be better than that. But at the minimum, you just need something that keeps you from dying. You need some food, you need some clothes. That's pretty much it. Everything else is optional. And people don't understand, because people think, I need a snowmobile. And
you budgeted for a snowmobile? Sorry.
I need a snowmobile. I budgeted for a snowmobile. I can't pay my mortgage. I don't know. It's just really stinky. My student loans, somebody should forgive those, because I need my snowmobile. But the student loans, I mean.
Or you're buying blueberries, but you can't pay your student loans. I'm sorry. I have no sympathy. Now, if you're budgeting all this stuff and it's in your budget and your debt is all paid off, that's fine. Totally, I don't care.
If you have the money,
spend the money on what you want.
It's fine. Yeah. It's just the confusion and the complaining about how it's not fair that people have certain bad situations that they could spend the money on to get out of those situations, but instead they want to spend the money on other things, or seeing that other people are doing things. Like we've known people that have gone to Disney World every year and spent like $20,000 a year when they couldn't afford it, and they were putting it all on credit cards or borrowing it from family or whatever.
And the mom was sick and stressed out.
And we never did that. And we could say, oh, it's not fair, we didn't get to do that. But honestly, we didn't really miss it. And now, knowing kind of what we know about people's situations who did do that, I'm glad we didn't, because, we have a house now and they're still struggling.
Yeah. Barbara says, because if they budget for those items, they can justify buying those things. This gives them an out. It's a cost of those things. That's the problem. Yes, that's exactly it. It gives them an excuse to not buy those. It gives them an excuse that it gives themselves permission to buy those things, is what I'm trying to say. Susie says she has the original Spiral Bound cookbook. Is it the same as volume 1? Yes, except this edition has 40 more recipes in there. So it is the same one. Our cookbooks, guys, are 50% off if you buy the sets for Mother's Day, 40% off our individual coffees. And we also have our gluten-free, dairy-free cookbook right here. This is what I use. So if you need that. Bounty in the Badlands says, darn, Tara, wine girl definitely will improve your mood. That's what I need, is wine.
Yeah, whatever.
You know what? Maybe we should do this. Maybe you should give me a big old glass of wine and then let me go live.
Well, yeah. You wouldn't even drink it. She says, I can gag that stuff down.
Actually, I hate the taste. Although I found out I'm allergic to molds, which is why I can't do fermented food. So wine makes me sick. But I think we should do that. What do you think? Give me a big old glass of wine and go live and see what happens.
Wow. Tara uninhibited. I can only imagine. I thought you were already uninhibited.
Can you imagine if I had a drink? Can you imagine if I had 2 drinks?
Yeah.
Whoa. Lorraine, I just want to say I love your live streams. Always stop what I'm doing to listen. Thank you. She says we have so much excellent information here. Well, you are welcome. Thank you. Nancy, does Tara have choke cherry wine in her next cookbook? I think I need to. Yes. Annette loves the thrift stores. Yep. Tomorrow morning, I'm heading to the thrift store before I go do my oxygen chamber. Bounty in
they're putting you in the chamber again.
Yes, they're putting me in the chamber. That's the last one for a while. Bounty in the Badlands, like I said last live, we pay $50 an hour for casual seasonal, and we struggle to find even local kids. Yeah, I'm going to send my kids up there to work for you. My goodness.
Ben says, oh, you might be permanently demonetized. Yeah, Tara uncensored. Haley says she's got a crying emoji. A laughing crying emoji.
You'd have to make sure you have the mute button ready to go on that live stream, huh?
Wow, we need a 7-second delay for the host.
Now, would I do something like that?
Yes. Are you kidding? I've been married to you 30 years. I know.
Dan says, during a season of your live shows, I used your tips to pay off my mortgage. I've had no debt for over 2 years. Thank you. You are welcome. That is great. Oh my goodness. You can send me the next one. Julie says, something to consider, even though we have so many things, are we happier? I don't think so. Maybe less is better. Yeah, that's true. I agree with you. Haley just paid off all her debt again after falling behind due to some medical issues. I'm so happy to be free again. Good job. We did too. We are getting very, very close to paying off our house. As a matter of fact, Mike just threw another, what did you throw on there? $15,000. We got our tax refund.
We don't normally get a tax refund, but we discovered that we overpaid because we thought there were expenses we thought we were unable to write off that we were able to write off.
Yeah, we had a huge amount of medical expenses that we didn't know we could pay off or write off. And so we got a really big back tax return. So we threw that on there. So we're down. And we actually have, somebody said, well, Tara, that's not frugal going on going to Branson. No, it is. We actually have the money in the bank and we could write a check right now and be completely debt free. But
we wouldn't have any other cash on hand.
We wouldn't have any other cash on hand. So we are waiting until we get our savings built up and kind of get through this next few weeks, seeing what's happening with the tariffs and stuff before we do. So we actually have a plan in place. And so we're not just, dinking around.
Alabama 22. Ooh, I'm turning on notifications so I won't miss Tara Unfiltered. I would love to hear her say what she really thinks.
If you guys knew what actually went on in my brain.
Well, she mostly says what comes out of her mouth, even at home.
No, I don't.
But there's a lot of stuff that you don't say, right?
I filter a lot.
Do you?
I filter a lot. I filter a lot.
Well,
I pray to
I see.
The Lord Jesus every day to help me not say what I'm thinking.
You confess your sins before you speak.
I do. And he helps me keep my trap shut.
All right.
I think Jesus is permanently closing my mouth for me more days than not.
Carol Ann says, I'm thinking if you drank something with alcohol before going live, it would be an unforgettable experience for all of us.
I've had one drink in my life and it was so nasty. I was just like, I couldn't stand it. Okay. Did you send me
I did.
the next ones? Okay. Wow, Kathy has one of our spiral cookbooks too. That is great. 2009. Wow, that one's almost 20 years old.
Tara Unfiltered was when she caught Thanksgiving on fire on air, Ellen says.
Yeah.
She was really cute doing that. Well, I guess that's how you do it. That was really...
Michelle said, I pay rent first and then I pay off the credit card and then groceries. Yep. Ellen says, I'm a saver. Yes, I'm a saver. But I like shopping. Like, I like going to the thrift store and looking, but I don't buy unless there's something that I need. So I like just browsing, but I've never been one of those people where I just get together with friends and just go shopping all morning or all day. I have never understood people who do that. So yeah, people who say, oh, my mom and sisters and I got together and we went shopping all day. I'm just like, why would you want to do that? I don't get it.
And I'm a man, so I really say, why would you want to do that?
Yeah. Ellen, buying a 4x4 without talking to your wife is a marriage problem, not a money problem. Amen. Oh, my word. I would not have a marriage if my husband did that, but I picked well enough that I didn't have to worry about it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Bounty says, I do budget, but we only get one paycheck a year, so I count for every penny. Yeah, and that's totally fine. That's totally fine. I get that. Michelle, the thing is Mark's had a whole bunch of flowers up front outside, so her dad bought her mom or stepmom some flowers, and she wasn't sure if she should tell him no. No, just let him buy them. It's fine. Yeah. Ellen,
what I would say on the budget thing, when we say we don't have a budget, I don't think that really means that other people shouldn't have one.
Yeah, you can have one if it helps.
I do think that budgets can be really useful. Especially if somebody in the family has trouble controlling the money. But there are other times where it's just helpful to know this is going to here and this is going to there. And at times where we've had like extreme money stress for some reason, on the medical bill situation last year, I ended up coming up with a spreadsheet that has very specific, it wasn't a budget, but it was calculating like all the different places where, we had money or money's coming in or money's going out. So I would be able to figure out to look into the future and predict that so we could make sure there was all going to be covered. So if you have a reason that it's helpful for you, I would do it for sure. Especially a lot of people just have money that goes away and they don't know where. So if you budget that and you control it a little more, it might help. It's just that since Tara's not a spender and I've kind of learned not to be, it's not a big deal for us.
Let's see. Edith says thrift stores are full of junk. When you reach 70, you realize what you do not need. I already realize what I do not need. But a lot of that junk other people can use. So even though you don't necessarily need it, a lot of people can use, some of that stuff. It just depends on what you need or want. Judy, I make my waffles every Sunday morning. The past few years, we do not go out for breakfast anymore. That is great. Those waffles are delicious. Ariana says, I have a spending problem on small things, and my husband is prone to multi-$1,000 spending when it comes to hiring people to do things like fixing cars in the dealership. Oh my goodness. Wow. I don't know if I can help you guys. Well, yeah, how I can help you guys. You need to sit and figure out how many hours you're working to pay for these things. So if your husband wants to spend, let's say $300 to get his oil changed at the car dealership instead of taking it to a non-dealership mechanic and having it done for $50 to $75, then how many hours is he going to have to work for that? Okay, that's fine. If he wants to work that extra 4 or 5 hours to pay for it, then he can do it. I mean, you guys need to be on agreement. But yeah, that's one of the best ways to stop spending is to figure out how much money it's costing you in hours worked. So that pizza that you just spent $60 having delivered and you make $20 an hour and you bring home $10 an hour after all your expenses just cost you 6 hours of working for a 15-minute dinner that you could have cooked at home, or even if you didn't want to cook at home, you could have at least had a bowl of cereal or some chicken nuggets or something. So that's one of the best ways to do that. Terry, your key statements are in debt, other and elsewhere struggling to pay bills. Yes, exactly. Penn says immaturity. No, adults know how to wait. Yep. And Ellen says those of us who are debt free know what we have to prioritize. Some people consider a bigger bass boat a need. Sorry, that's a want, not a need. Yes, exactly. And Michelle says, there's a new Star Trek exhibit at Universal Studios. I checked the prices and I don't think it's worth it. Wow.
Wow.
Kimberly, unfortunately, if you are not raised during the Carter years or poor and came afterward, a lot of people just don't want to deny themselves. Yep, you are correct. Ellen, my husband can't give up Dr. Pepper, so now he has false teeth. Yep, that's what happens. Becky Ann, my 40-year-old daughter just passed away. Everyone said, how is her husband and kids going to make it? The thing is, they had no debt, just a house payment and a small credit card balance. Makes you think. Yes, first of all, I'm very sorry that you have lost your daughter. I can't imagine how hard that is. But yes, that's one of the reasons why we are debt free. Because if I croak or Mike croaks, I know we will be okay. Either one of us. So, Mary Rose, thrifted solid oak round dining table and 4 oak chairs for $38. Great for now and will be a hand-me-down for the kids. There you go. Next one, please.
Oh, I thought I wasn't collecting them anymore. But I had a couple good ones here. Well, I mean, there's a few more on there you can look at too. But Elise said, by the way, I got your first book 25 years ago as a young stay-at-home mom. Y'all have helped me stay home. It's been a blessing. We're debt-free except for the house and 1.5 years from having that paid off too.
Good job.
Great job, Elise.
Yeah.
And then also Cinda said, just joining, we were thinking of Branson for our 25th anniversary in October. Did you enjoy it?
Yes. Well, I guess they're not going with the kids if they're going for their anniversary.
We've been a number of times and
I really, really like it. The Hay Goods is a really good show. Now, why I'm hesitating is because people our age, we're at that stage where we're saying our age now.
She started to say, wow, I see all these billboards for the shows and I think they sound really good, so I must be getting older.
Well, it's funny because all the billboards in Branson are switching from Elvis and the Beatles, and now they're switching over to Michael Jackson. Like, okay.
If you've never been there, they have tons of theaters that have all different kinds of shows.
And so we haven't really hit a lot of the shows yet because we've always gone with the kids and go to Silver Dollar City is the main thing we do. But a lot of the shows are really, really good from what people say. We went to see the Hay Goods last year or 2 years ago. And so I can see why people really like the show. So yes, it's fun. Definitely, if you are a Christian, or even if you're not a Christian, you just like Bible stories, go see the Sight and Sound. It's expensive, but oh my goodness, it's like nothing you've ever seen. And right now they're playing David, and we didn't get to go see it, and we really wanted to see that. But
it's the Sight and Sound Theater. It's a really big theater. Yeah. They usually have their shows are usually from some Bible story. So we've seen. Did you see Samson there? No, we saw Samson.
We saw Samson.
There's something that you guys saw.
Ellie and I saw Jonah in Pennsylvania.
We've also seen Noah, something else. There are these huge productions though with like, I don't know, they're like 30 main cast, but like 100 other cast people and animals and all sorts. It's a huge production, but they're just really well done. And that's definitely worth going to. There's a lot of really cool stuff there. We take our kids to Silver Dollar City Amusement Park. And even if you don't necessarily like to, I wouldn't know if it'd be good to go there necessarily. But we found that if you don't like to do the rides, there are a lot of cool things like the soap maker and woodworking and glass.
They have a lot of programs and stuff too. Yeah.
All sorts. It's like an old West town mixed with an amusement park, and that's really cool. But there are a lot of shows and different things to do, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And let's see. Was that the only comments did you have, or did you have?
Those are the two I had here, but if you look on YouTube, there's I thought you were done, so I didn't grab any more, but there's a little bit more at the end.
Barbara says, My speed in Branson is Andy Williams. Oh, is there an Andy Williams one? That might be kind of fun. Our kids thought that Silver Dollar City was better than Disney World. Wow.
Silver Dollar City is my favorite amusement park.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of them in my life.
I haven't been to Disney World, but I have no intention of ever going. Jonathan will have to drag my dead body over the door frame before I'll go to Disney.
You just think an alligator's going to jump out from somewhere.
Yes. They will. Well, that poor little kid was eaten by an alligator at Disney. It happens. It's true. I'm not making it up. It
happens, but I think people just don't get in the water there mostly.
Oh, I don't know. Okay, let's see. A little wine. Tastes great. Bet you'll have a lot of you.
There were a few other questions. Darlene asked about reverse mortgages.
I
would not get a reverse mortgage.
Just sell your house and
it would be better to sell your house and invest the money.
Yeah.
But the truth is, it's a scam. I mean, basically what they're trying to do is they give you some money and they give you some money every month. And then when you die, they take your whole house. And if you don't live as long as, if you live longer than the money, then they just take your house away and you have no place to live. If you live less time than the money, then the bank just keeps your house. And then, nobody else will get it. It's a scam. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. She also says she thinks I'd fall asleep at 2 glasses of wine. Probably would. Yeah. Cherry says, I watch Ryan Hall, y'all. There are more tornadoes and they're getting more severe. Yeah, that's what I mean. It used to be you would hear one town was flattened in the entire season somewhere. And so Greensburg, Kansas would be flattened, or Andover, Kansas would be flattened, or Joplin, Missouri would be flattened. But now it's like Missouri today, Iowa tomorrow, or the next day, Nebraska the next day. And I don't think it's just because everybody has cell phones now, because everybody's had cell phones for 10 years. And we've never had where, when we were going to Branson, I don't remember if it was 2 or 3, but we were under 2 or 3 tornado watches and warnings while we were there. And we were barely missing them. On the drive there, it was just 40 or 50 miles north of us in Nebraska. And then as we got there, they were getting ready to hit Poplar Bluff where we were at. And then, it was 3. Then we went to Branson and there was another one, and Mike and Jack were sleeping. So I was sitting there watching all the trees go sideways while they were sleeping. And I was like, okay, at what point do I tell them to go get in the bathroom so we're away from the windows? But it ended up, passing. But my goodness, so everybody says they would watch me on a glass of wine, huh? Oh my goodness, you guys, you're so funny.
There was a time where a doctor told her she should drink a glass of red wine every day or something like that. She did it once or twice, and she said it was the most horrible gaggy thing ever.
Yeah. It was nasty. I don't have a problem if people drink. I have a problem with people getting drunk, but I don't have a problem if you have a glass of wine or something. But
red dry wine, I mean, I don't think Tara would like any kind of wine, but the red dry wine is definitely not something that a non-drinking person would start drinking because of.
Yeah, Benny in the Badlands says, Tara, pray for us. The Liberals are ahead 16-5. Oh my goodness. That's just awful. Oh, she is in Alberta.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So those YouTuber friends of ours, that they were looking for a place to park their tiny house on wheels so that they could run home to France. Did she say, or is it an emergency or something? Or
no, they just want to go visit.
She just said they were going back to visit their families for 3 weeks, but I think they found a place to park. So Tara, I love your how to stay at home mod videos and would love to see y'all do one with Mike's input for dads. I know several who would love to be stay-at-home moms, but their hubbies are not supportive. They split expenses 50-50.
Wow. I'm sorry.
First of all, that's a marriage problem.
I think the splitting expenses thing needs to be established before you get married. I mean, if you're already married, then there has to be I
don't know if I can help you, but
there has to be a reckoning where you don't split expenses anymore. I mean, because you're not married if you're not doing that. Yeah, getting married, you're becoming one. I mean, you're still individual people, but you're one unit in pretty much every other way. like you can have your own thoughts about things, but like, I think that if you're going to get married, you should share your money. If you can't trust a person enough to share your money with them, then you shouldn't marry them, because that's going to be a disaster later if you can't trust them that much. And if that other person just wants to go hog wild and doesn't want you to control them, then you shouldn't marry them, because that's not a marriage getting along with each other.
But it's more than
attitude.
that. So before we got married, he knew I was planning on being a stay-at-home mom. He knew that. I was like, I ain't going to be working when we have kids. So you better be okay with that. And he was. But here's the thing. People act like stay-at-home moms don't earn money, or they have no value, or...
I didn't think that.
Yeah, he didn't think that. But here's the thing. I saved way more money by staying at home raising our children than I ever could have ever earned. And we heard the astronomical number the other day that there was a couple that had, I think their kids were around 6 and 8 or 9, 10, somewhere around there. And so far they had already spent $140,000 on daycare. We were just like,
and they were kind of bragging about it.
You've got to be kidding me.
Wow, you're proud of that? I mean,
but here's the thing. What I would do is I would add up, if you're wanting to stay at home and your husband isn't wanting to, I would add up all the meals that you eat out. I would add all of the new clothes that you think you have to buy because you don't have time to go to the thrift store and garage sales. I would add up the extra car payments that you don't have to have if you're a stay-at-home mom. You need to add up the extra taxes, 25% usually in taxes. All of your working expenses, your clothes, secret Santas, parties, all of those kinds of things. And add all that up and look and see how much you're actually making. A lot of working moms are making $2 to $3 an hour by the time you add all that up. If that was me, I would be in tears. I would be in tears. And then, not to mention all the stress when your kids get sick and you have to take off work and the daycare won't take the kids because they're sick, but you can't take off work because what are you supposed to do? All of that kind of stress. So just the stress alone isn't worth it.
But the thing I was thinking about the separating money thing is why keep your money separate? And what I've heard people say is, well, I just don't trust his spending. Well, then you shouldn't marry him.
And if that's the case, then you probably should keep it separate.
He's going to get you into financial disaster. It can't be helped.
And if you can't trust him, you need to keep it separate.
Yeah. If you can't trust him, you need to keep yourselves separate and not marry each other. What else? Another thing is people want to keep their money separate because I don't want you telling me what to do. Well, that's not the attitude married people should have. That's still a me and you attitude and not an us attitude. And I've also known some people would want to keep their money separate because I don't want you to know everything I'm doing. Well, that's not good. What is it that you're doing that you think your spouse shouldn't know about? And so there's just a lot of, I can't think of any, well, okay. The one thing I've heard of that sort of makes sense is if you're like on a second marriage and some things you're keeping separate so your kids end up with it when you die. And I know some older people have talked about stuff like that, and that does make sense.
Maybe if you're a second marriage, yeah.
That kind of thing would make sense. But I mean, I'm talking about like when people get married, when they're younger and they're going to have a family together and all this stuff. It's just, I think you're starting out with, I'm keeping separate from you so I don't have to listen to you. And in case something goes wrong, I can leave you. And that's really not committing. And that's why I think that's a big problem.
Elise says, by the way, she got our first cookbook, the original edition, 25 years ago as a young stay-at-home mom. Y'all have helped me stay home. It's been a blessing. We are debt-free, except the house. And in 1.5 years, we were having that paid off too. Oh, wait, you read me that one. Did you read me that one? Or was it a different lady?
I think it was somebody else.
Oh, it was somebody else.
That I read. Woohoo!
Good.
That's awesome.
Job. I am so glad we have been able to help you do that. That is so cool. Wow, 25 years. I never dreamed in my wildest dreams. 30 years later almost, because it's been it's 28 years now since I started helping people with their finances. I was on bed rest with my first pregnancy, and I started counseling people on their budgets on the pregnancy forums. And that's where I got the idea, because I kept telling them how to save money on their grocery bill.
Coupon Therapy says, I'm so glad you guys started lives again. It's nice having people with some common sense at the end of a long day. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, that's funny. Jim, it was $100 a ticket to get into Silver Dollar City. So it was not cheap, but you can buy one day and get 2 free, but we only had one day to be there this time. So we could only be there one day.
Yeah, actually, the Silver Dollar City is most worth it if you get a 2-day ticket, because it's literally like $15 more for a 2-day ticket than a 1-day ticket. And it's really a fun place, particularly for kids and teenagers and stuff. And we tend to go when there aren't a lot of other people there. It is interesting, though, because as the older people, there are a lot of fun things to do that aren't riding on the really intense rides. And this time I didn't ride. I rode one roller coaster that was one of the mildest ones, and that was it. Yeah. Everything else was kind of a more calm ride.
Yep. Jane, do you think you'll ever start making soap again? I don't know. Probably. I don't know. We'll see. If Mike dies, I might.
If I die.
Bounty in the Badlands.
Are you planning something?
No. Bounty in the Badlands. Do you have a recipe for lemon shortbread? So I would use, if you have my Dining on a Dime Volume 1, I would use the shortbread recipe in there and add a half a teaspoon of lemon extract. If that's not enough, then go up to a teaspoon, and some lemon zest if you want. Tanya, my mother-in-law did a reverse mortgage. Bad news. She almost went under and her son had to buy her house. Yep, exactly. I get it. Let's see, Terry, if alcohol tastes bad to you, you're likely allergic. Yeah, I can't drink it. Hello, most days I would love to. Let's see. Going through real quick. I knew a couple that put him through school, had 4 kids, got her through law school, and he figured it cost them $12 more the first year she worked. She was happy and proud, though, for $12. I don't get that. Knew a couple that put him through school, had 4 kids, got her through law school, and he figured it cost them $12 more.
The first year she worked.
The first year she worked. I don't understand what they're saying.
I'm not sure.
Oh, she only earned $12 that first year, I think is what she said.
After the school stuff and all that?
Wow, that is just not worth it. I
don't fully understand, so we might be missing something there.
Amber says, my husband's best friend tragically passed away last year. His passing revealed his secret life because they never shared bank accounts. It was awful and devastating for his wife and family. Wow. Yeah. If your husband is not willing to combine bank accounts with you, that is a huge red flag. Huge red flag. You need to be having some serious marriage counseling, if that is the case. Now, if you guys keep them separate and he says, well, here's everything I have in my account, here's everything, you show him everything you have in your account, okay. Maybe if it's a second marriage or something where you're doing that. But if he refuses to show you or share any of his financial things with you, you need to be looking into what's going on. That's not okay at all.
Well, it's funny because we also have, between us, we have full access to each other's phones and computers and everything if we want, but
let me see your phone. I want to check it right now.
But we're not always inspecting each other's things, but we can.
But he has no problem with me just picking up his phone to look at something if I need to, and vice versa.
Yeah. So if you can't do that, it could be a problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think a lot of people are already married when they come to think this isn't a good plan. But if you're not married yet and you're thinking about getting married, and these are things that are major concerns, like if I'm going to marry this person, but we have to keep our money separate, that's a sign that you recognize something is wrong there,
Yep.
I think. And I mean, again, like I said, some very unusual circumstance, like it's too much older people and they don't want the property that they and their first husband worked for to go to the next husband's kids. They wanted to go to the kids that they had together. I understand those kinds of things, but most of the time it's not that. Most of the time it's just he wants to spend money on his big truck and he doesn't want to ask for permission, and she wants to spend money on whatever, but ultimately he's spending money on his girlfriend and his big truck, and you just don't know about it, and that's not good. So I would just, if you're not married, I would start on the right foot in the first place on that. Because like with us, we had a lot of things where like we know we want kids. Tara wanted 6. I was like, I'd be happy to have 6. I just don't know if we'll be able to handle that. So we'll see how far we get. And we knew we wanted the house, and the plan was getting married to stay married. So we didn't make any plans for going any other way. But again, a lot of times if you really think about things, you can figure out ahead of time if it's a bad idea.
And like Michelle says, he wouldn't show me the budget. I didn't know how much money we had like to pay for groceries. She said I should have realized it. Sometimes you don't know till later, and that's okay. Just learn from your mistakes and don't do it the next time.
But we say stuff like that
just to warn people,
to get people to think who might be in the situation of not having pulled the trigger on that yet, to realize, wait, this might be a problem.
And this is not a criticism of anyone who's doing that. I'm just warning you that if these things are happening, these are red flags. Bernadette says, do you think going tiny house living is a good way to become mortgage free and save money? Yes, it is. But tiny houses are not cheap. I mean, I was looking the other day and there was a tiny house and it was $100,000. I was like, holy moly. Now, my son lives in a tiny house and he spent about, I don't know, probably $20,000 on his twice. But so that is a good way. He's chosen to do that so that he can keep his bills low, and he has low bills. All he has is car insurance. Well, he's staying here now, so he has rent to us, car insurance, and like his food and his phone. That's really all he has. He doesn't have much, and he likes doing that. So if that's something that you think might work for you, then yes, I would say go for it. But be careful, because it may not necessarily be cheaper, because if you have to rent a lot to park it on or something like that, then it could get expensive. So
I would say also, if you're a very young person, this might be an exception, but I think for anyone that's kind of middle age or older, I would say nothing less than 400 square feet. I think if it's less than that, it's just going to be a little too small. In America anyway.
Yeah.
And I think, because that's not an uncommon size for an apartment, for example.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of young people like to get like a garden shed and make it into a house. And that you would be roughing it pretty hard living in something like that. So I would keep that in mind. If it were us and we were going to go kind of into a tinier house, I don't know if I would, unless we were desperate, I wouldn't probably choose a tiny house. But what I might do is go find a house like the 1940s house kind of size that's like 600 square feet or something on a small lot, because it would be cheaper and they're nicer. Because I noticed in our town, real estate's been at a premium for a while, but I see a lot of empty houses where I think grandma went to a nursing home like 10 years ago and the family just doesn't know what to do with the house. I'd probably go offer them some money for it and buy something like that. If that's just way out of your budget, because depending on where you live, if it's really expensive for something like that, it still might be out of your budget.
Terry says, explaining the $12 thing, she said, no exam fees, wardrobe, daily ferry, the briefcase, the childcare, the extra meals out on the first year's salary. The woman's expenses to work cost $12 more after deductions than the year before. So she paid $12 to work, is what she's saying. The mom paid $12 to work. And I believe it.
Well, it says no loans. So does that mean no education loans?
Probably.
Because if that's the case, then 1 year of no income would be worth having no debt.
No, but what she's saying is she did all this to go work, and she paid $12 to work.
Yeah,
that's what's so stupid about the whole thing. And then these moms are complaining that they're so stressed out. It's like, I'm sorry, but yeah. So anyway, all right. Our Mother's Day sale is happening now, 50% off our print books. If you get the set, 40% off the individual books. Start with volume 1 if you need to start somewhere. These volume 1 and volume 2 are separate cookbooks. They could be used by themselves, but volume 1 just has all the basics in there. And then our gluten-free, dairy-free cookbook. If you are gluten-free, dairy-free like me, please visit us at livingonadime.com. We will see you guys next time.
Have an awesome night.
Bye.